It was a far cry from the scenes witnessed a decade ago as Harry launched his impressive Invictus Games in London with his father and brother proudly by his side, both physically and emotionally. What has transpired since that day has seen a family that is divided into Team Windsor and Team Sussex. The King and Prince of Wales have made their first joint public engagement since 2022 at the Army Aviation Centre, while their relations with Prince Harry seem to be more distant than ever. After more than 30 years as Colonel-in-Chief, the King has ceremonially handed over his light blue beret to Prince William. But as the monarch and his eldest son marked the milestone in some style, with the elder arriving by an Apache helicopter and the younger departing in the front seat, one family helicopter pilot was symbolically missing from the picture. As the Duke and Duchess of Sussex try to look ahead rather than backward with foreign tours and a new brand, Prince Harry's recent visit to the UK was a stark reminder of the gulf that grows between him and his family. Instead of a widely anticipated father and son reunion, given the recent times of turbulence and health crises at the heart of the institution, the King's youngest son and the monarch could not even schedule a quick meeting between them, despite being just 3 short miles away from each other. It spoke volumes that Harry's spokesperson felt moved to publish a statement which cited his father's full diary as an excuse for the absence of a get-together. But clearly there's more to it under the surface. At the heart of the divide, one could understand why King Charles would not feel compelled to change his busy programme to see his transatlantic son, who has leaked more intimate information about the family in 4 years than has likely ever been shared by another one person. But trust aside, there's also a sense of a complete breakdown in communication between the two offices, one controlling the comms of celebrities and the other controlling it for a monarchy. Instead, Harry's 3-day trip to London to celebrate the Invictus Games came and went, and he only ended up seeing and being supported by his maternal side of the family. While the King hosted a garden party at Buckingham Palace nearby, was as clear a snapshot as we've ever had of the rift between them. Having so many from the House of Windsor surround the King while Harry walked into the cathedral alone was symbolic of their rift. Instead of being by his immediate family's side, Harry and his beloved cause were being bolstered by the Spencers, who rode to his very public rescue for the notable Invictus ceremony. While the Duke hugged his uncle, Earl Spencer, and aunt, Lady Jane Fellows, at the service, the monarch was welcoming thousands of guests into his own backyard, notably not his youngest son. It was reported that no formal request for a meeting was made on either side, but if one was wanted, as we understand it was from Harry's side, then you can imagine that something could have easily been set up, because ultimately a meeting could have happened if the palace had wanted it to. It was an important moment for the King, as it marked a major public outing for him as he continues his treatment for cancer while also kicking off a busy summer calendar. And a meeting between them had absolutely looked like it could have been in the cards when Harry dashed to his father's side after learning of his cancer diagnosis in early February. But even that brief 30-minute reunion during the Duke's flying visit spoke to their distance, because as was asked around the world at the time, how was half an hour all there was time for in such a monumental shock for king, country and family? But this time around, father and son were less than 3 miles apart from each other. But as our royal editor Hannah Furness observed, they have never seemed further apart. It was a far cry from the scenes witnessed a decade ago as Harry launched his impressive Invictus Games in London with his father and brother proudly by his side, both physically and emotionally. What has transpired since that day has seen a family that is divided into Team Windsor and Team Sussex. But after 4 years, the Sussexes seem to finally be trying to stop looking in the rearview mirror and rehashing old grievances in public, as they now choose to plough on with overseas tours as well as new business ventures. The couple have found themselves back on the international world stage after leaving working royal life as they undertook a private but quasi-royal tour of Nigeria. There were speeches about the importance of mental health, a formal welcoming ceremony and outfit changes, all reminiscent of the formula of royal tours past. But their 3-day trip to Nigeria, their first ever to the African country, saw the Sussexes do it all on their own terms this time. Instead of travelling with a pool of British, American and Nigerian media to cover their every move, as is custom, they chose to give permission to one reporter from People magazine and one Getty photographer instead to document it all. The trip was designed around Harry's Invictus Games, which counts the Nigerian team as its most recent recruit, but there was also polo and women's empowerment thrown into the schedule. Meghan, who has previously spoken on her podcast of being 43% Nigerian, wrote in a visitor's book of her gratitude at their welcoming her home. Given that this wasn't a state visit, her language points to the fact that there was more scope for frank speech than a visiting working member of the royal family would have had. The couple are no longer touring countries with the responsibility of representing king and country while abroad. The couple performed much of the feel-good elements of their old royal visits, however, including uplifting speeches about mental health, great photo opportunities, and a touching welcoming from school children, but all without the constraints of the real thing. It has been asked, particularly in foreign media, whether the success and glamour of this recent overseas tour put a sour taste in the palace's mouth. It may serve as an unwelcome reminder of some of the star power they've lost when the couple left the UK behind them for greener pastures in the States. But more likely, the feeling will be one of relief, that the trip has passed off without any major diplomatic incidents from the Sussexes. But while the couple's itinerary in Nigeria certainly fits in with the narrative of their newfound freedom, will it still have the same diplomatic effects as official royal tours? In many ways, it doesn't need to. The Duke is laser-focused on his Invictus mission, and the Duchess is in the midst of releasing her American Riviera orchard brand into the world. The Sussexes are no longer operating with the same goalposts that the palace sets. They are at their leisure to define their work as they want, without constraint. And going forward, I suspect we will see them on many more of these quasi-royal tours around the world as they promote their own causes as they choose to. And while some of Harry's charity work will always link him in some way back to his former home and country, the couple's core work has never been farther from it. Royal Insight is a fortnightly video output by The Telegraph, where we give you our insider knowledge and analysis of the main royal stories. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know in the comment section below and visit our website for more royal content, news and analysis.